Mark, it's been almost 3 years since the launch of the PS4. What's the response been like from your perspective?
PS4 has really been embraced by the development community, first and third party, and as a result, it's become an amazing generation for PlayStation. It's got the diversity of games that I love. I think that's really central to the PlayStation DNA. I mean, just in the past few months, I've been able to play The Witness, which is indie, Doom and Shadow of the Beast, which are a sort of remake, and AAA blockbuster games like Uncharted 4. So the hardware question becomes, how do we keep all of that going and innovate at the same time?
Hence the sort of mid-cycle refresh that PS4 Pro represents.
Yes, exactly. PS4 Pro is not the start of a new generation, nor is it a console that's going to blur the lines between generations. That's important because there's a certain cadence to game development. At the start of a generation, there's a lot of adjustment and learning as the developers dig into the tools and technologies that we provide them. That's great because it allows them to create entirely new types of games. But at the same time, there's a certain cost associated with that. PlayStation 4 Pro, arriving as it does mid-generation, means that our target is to take the whole PS4 experience to a new level, and to do so without the kind of disruption that moving to a new console generation would entail.
You mentioned taking the PS4 experience to a new level, so tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that.
So for game content, the new console is targeted primarily at higher fidelity graphics and smoother frame rates. These are great areas for us to focus on because they don't alter the fundamental gameplay. The creator's vision is just represented in a richer fashion.
What is the development community saying about PS4 Pro so far?
Support's been great. The developers and publishers have been very quick to adopt the new platform. With PS4 Pro, for all new titles, we're asking the developers to support 4K with higher resolution graphics and the like, and also HD TVs through higher quality graphics.
Is there a sort of risk associated with designing a console that taps into 4K and HDR, especially when there's not a lot of TVs out there that support those features right now?
UHD 4K TV has definitely arrived. I believe that something like a third of the TV sets sold this year will be 4K TVs. HDR is definitely a bit further out there in terms of adoption, but it's great having the console out now because it means that the game experiences will be ready and waiting as HDR penetration increases. Having said that, you don't need to have a HDR TV to enjoy the benefits of PS4 Pro. The game experience is enhanced in any number of ways with an ordinary HD TV. Now, I should also say that all of this strategically dovetails very nicely with our initiative into VR. We're anticipating that the games will be much crisper and have more detail to the graphics on PS4 Pro.
So Mark, how do you see the PS4 Pro and the standard PS4 fitting together?
We're working very hard to ensure that PS4 remains a single, unified community. The games are playable on both consoles, of course. It's the same discs and downloads, the same online community. Most of the user experience is quite similar. The main difference is that with PS4 Pro, we're giving developers an opportunity to make their games more impactful and immersive. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how the developers take advantage of all of that.
So Mark, when did you decide to actually move forward with designing the PS4 Pro?
We actually started thinking about the new console pretty much as soon as PlayStation 4 shipped. It was clear that during this generation, 4K TV penetration would become pretty significant at some point, and we wanted to see if we could get something out there in the market to support it. Once we realized that the increased processing power that was necessary for 4K could be used to make the graphics better on HD TV as well, PS4 Pro simply became a must-do.
So Mark, tell us something we don't know about the creation of PS4 Pro.
Okay, so during the creation of the hardware, I casually asked a very famous director at one point, and I'm sorry, I can't say his name, what he thought we should be doing next for hardware. And he described essentially the exact details of PS4 Pro. I mean, the synchronicity here that we would all be thinking along the precise same lines, I mean, it's so intense that the hair on my arms was standing on end. And he remembered too, when I gave him his formal briefing 2 years later about the hardware, he reminded me that he had anticipated this in exact detail.
Wow. So Mark, alongside the PS4 Pro and the slimmer PS4, DualShock 4 is actually getting some new features as well. Tell me a little about those.
So the new controller has a few welcome improvements. There's now a light bar on the touchpad that says which player is which for multiplayer. The really cool thing is that you can now directly connect the controller to the console and send the signals by USB, which when you're playing a fighting game and you want the absolute minimum latency, it's just heaven.
PlayStation